So you want to see how good you are, and you must be tired of living.
We fight alone or all together.
It'll just take me to show you.
Boy, step up like him want it laugh. Knock him out, make him rich it up. Get up, we chop up, make the cage red off. Call the mark, fi come clean him up. Don't bring the mighty, will get knocked out very likely. If you want war, you know where to find we. Make your life get in it like Spike Lee. Them get kung fu, jiu-jitsu and tai chi. Make you sleep in them, now you got 90.
Yo. Yeah, you don't know the Mighty by Simon Skygrass Bowden. Big up Simon. That is a straight tribute tune, as my brethren, just you don't know, support of the Mighty Kyle Chin. So welcome to MMA Jamming. This is the Mighty Kyle Chin, and this is episode 5. And really, I'm super excited to talk about the matchups that are coming this weekend. It's such a great night of fights that we're in store for, and there's so much drama surrounding all that's been happening recently. So if you don't know, initially what was supposed to happen for UFC 251 is that Kamaru Usman, who is the champion, was supposed to fight Jorge Masvidal, who has become somewhat of a superstar in MMA. He won the BMF belt, right? They had a one-off fight for the baddest motherfucker, and he won that belt. The belt was put around him by The Rock himself. Like, it was a huge thing. It was a one-off thing. So he's gained a lot of popularity for his gangster style, as well as he's just being very real. And he's been in the game a long time and now has started to just knock fools out. He's changed some things about the way he approaches fights, and it has garnered him a lot of support and a lot of love from the fans. So that's been happening. And then the two of them were supposed to fight. The fight fell through because of negotiations. Masvidal wanted more money, and so, well, not more money, he wanted the shares of the pay-per-view, and it wasn't working out with UFC. They weren't about all that. So they moved on and went for Gilbert Burns, who is a training partner of Kamaru Usman, but Gilbert Burns, top 5 fighter, and has been performing very well recently. And of course, just beat up Tyron Woodley, who is the former champion as well. That's who Usman took the belt from. So now you have a situation where it's Usman versus Burns, and then you have the card stacked with some other fights, which I gotta talk about, because some of those fights I love even more than the main card. But essentially what happens, COVID strikes, and Burns falls out because of COVID. So you have Usman, the champ, and the headliner of the event, left without an opponent. Jorge Masvidal, on 6 days' notice, being the gangster that he is, the man said boom and take the fight, right? So now, and I mean, this doesn't happen in any other sport. Like, you're not gonna find that in boxing or anything else where a man is gonna step up for a championship fight in 6 days. And this is Fight Island. This is the famed Fight Island that we were talking about. This is the, you know what I mean, this is the time. At least people want to see it. You know what I mean? So this is Jorge stepping up now. And I mean, Usman was preparing for a championship fight. He was preparing for a 5-round championship fight, but against a wrestler. Not a wrestler, a BJJ specialist, who is also a very decent striker, but also is one of his ex-training partners. So he knows a bit about his style. He knows what to expect from him. He knows what to do with him. It's arguable too that Burns was very anxious for that fight because of the fact that they were partners, and knows exactly what to expect and do with him as well. But they don't know. The thing I go on, and it's interesting now because you have Jorge stepping up for this fight, supposedly was not in training camp. 6 days notice, that's short notice. Like, we're talking about usually having 3 months, right? 12 to 8 weeks is a fight camp, a full fight camp. And Jorge is stepping in at 6 days. So, the fight breakdown. So I want to talk about this fight a little bit. It's a very interesting fight. And already the odd makers are leaning completely over to Usman because of several things. Like I said, one, he was preparing for a fight. Two, he's a wrestler, so he's heavy on his wrestling, right? The last couple of fights, he's shown that his cardio, his stand-up cardio is excellent. He also has the ability to keep his output high throughout the 5-round fight, and even still has finishing power in the last moments of the fight. So this is already something that is a huge advantage to him. Then you have Jorge, who is a striker, essentially. He tends to win his fights by striking. He's an all-round mixed martial artist, an extremely experienced mixed martial artist who has twice the amount of experience that Usman has. As a matter of fact, he actually has more wins than Usman has fights. He has 16 knockouts to his record. Usman has 16 wins to his record. So we're talking about the level of experience that is definitely going to play a factor in how this fight plays out, in how Jorge processes this whole situation. But you have a situation where Jorge has nothing to lose. That's one of the biggest things. Nothing to lose for a man stepping into a championship fight is always a plus. It's always a plus. If he loses, he took the fight on 6 days. If he wins, he is legendary, right? So the man will go reach a next level. The amount of fanfare and star power and star appeal that he's gonna have is gonna be ridiculous. All right. So you have this situation now. You have the striker versus the wrestler, right? Now, you would think that what should be his approach, Jorge's approach, is to land perfect strikes early out, be aggressive early, just go balls to the wall. But some inside information, actually just watching an interview tonight on Teddy Atlas's podcast, I think it's Infights with Teddy Atlas, Dustin Poirier, for his last camp, actually had Jorge helping him throughout the entire camp. They were bringing in top wrestlers to work with them. Jorge was working with all of them. Even after Jorge's fight fell through, the original fight with Usman fell through, Jorge was still training and was still at it. So it's really interesting that the what people are thinking is the case may not be the case. So everybody's thinking that Masvidal is not ready for a 5-round fight, that he's not fit, that he's not fight ready. But you see what I go on. Like, it might not be the case. He could be absolutely fight ready. Dustin Poirier actually says that he thinks he's absolutely fight ready. And he's absolutely fight fit. And Jorge is a man who is always kind of working on his cardio. He's always fit. He's never really, just taking it easy. He is coming down from 190. So that's an interesting thing to remember. So when he got the call on the 6th day, he's coming from 190 pounds to come down to 170 pounds. Now this is a pretty significant drop within that time, especially if you weren't water loading and keeping your sodium counts low and stuff like that from before. So your body now has to get used to the idea of losing a lot of water in a very quick time. But he's an old pro. If he took the fight, it means he knows he can do it. And it's very important that he does do this, because if he doesn't make the weight, he doesn't fight for a belt, which is the objective. That's what he wants. He wants the belt. So we know he's going to work real hard to lose the weight. We don't know. Now, Masvidal has fought at lightweight, had a career at lightweight. So he's used to cutting a lot of weight. And I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, Usman is a big guy. Usman was probably, by the time this week came around, Usman, I'm sure, would have been living around 15 to 10 pounds heavier. But not necessarily a 20-pound cut. But we'll see how much of a difference that will make. And we'll see what happens on weigh-ins. I think weigh-ins are going to be very interesting. So we see what going on. I personally, so if you're talking about picks now, at the end of the day, with this information, with the fact that Masvidal has been training and is not quite as unfit as people may think, Masvidal's approach would still have to be to come out fast and hard, and that is something that he has done in past fights, but he's also never been able to be tired. Now, he did fight Damian Maia, and when he fought Damian Maia, the grappling was a problem. The grappling was an issue. And so it's something that people think about, especially with the Usman fight now, knowing that Usman is very willing to just hold him down and wrestle with him the entire fight. Usman's striking will not stand up to Masvidal's, but it doesn't have to. It really doesn't have to. What has to stand up is his ability to consistently provide Masvidal with new looks, with going for the takedowns, with, you know, standing and striking, going for the takedowns, faking for the takedown, going for the strikes, and vice versa. Now, you have to remember too that these guys, especially Masvidal, is so, his fight IQ is so high that he's able to do all kind of reads and all kind of changes in the cage as they go. When you look at the knockout of Darren Till, you know, the way he stepped through and switched stances, the way, you know, the way MD with Nate Diaz. So he doesn't have a problem with reach. He knows how to overcome reach. He knows how to read tendencies of his fighters very well. Usman is not quite there in terms of his fight IQ in striking, and tends to just be able to bully and pressure you. And then once you're up, he provides that volume. He goes to the body very, very well, and that is where you see the educated striking from Usman. The way he goes to the body, the way he switches the top. But against a man like Masvidal, I think it would be easy for Masvidal to move around that. I think a lot of it is going to depend on Usman's game plan coming into this fight. And if Usman is humble enough and realize that he have to stick to what brought him to the show, and him going there and wrestle him out, that's how he's going to get the victory. Otherwise, if him ramp round, Masvidal, who will be able to defend some takedowns and will be able to fight it off and will keep on the pressure, is going to put him down. Right? So I'm super excited about that fight, and I can't wait to see what happens. I don't want to skip. I'm gonna save the best for last. So I want to go straight into the Max Holloway Alexander Volkanovski fight, because, man, such an interesting fight. We've seen what happened in the first time. So the first time, Volkanovski was able to really shut him down. He shut down his striking a lot. Now, one thing that I'm really worried about, and what I have, the development that I don't like, and I've seen with Max Holloway. Max Holloway is one of my favorite fighters. He's one of the fighters who I think his footwork and his control of distance and range is so incredible, and is so just intelligent. When you see the man constantly able to stay just outside of range, even against tall fighters, so even against a Brian Ortega, he's able to touch, move slightly at an angle, send the right, switch stances, go both, you know what I mean, send power shots from both sides. It's really incredible to see how fluid and fluent he is in his strike language. So I love to see it, but what has happened is that Max has stopped kicking. Why, Max? Why? Why you gonna stop do that? Like, why? I don't understand. Max has stopped kicking. This is mixed martial arts. On top of the fact that he's a rangier fighter, he's taller, he's gonna be taller than most of the guys that he fights, right? Just because they're featherweights. And Max decides that he's gonna use his long punches, and he uses straight punches extremely well. He likes to go to the body. He does everything right when it comes to punching. His boxing is incredible. But you add so much more range when you keep your kicks in the game, right? when you look at a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, his range is so much longer for the fact that he throws kicks, right? Even Usman, who we were talking about earlier, adds range to his reach because he's going to use that front teep to the body. He's going to use, a couple roundhouses to the ribs, and that's important. You have to keep those options open, and you have to keep people worrying about more things. The more you have to worry about is the less you're able to do. The more I get you to worry about what I'm doing is the more you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's super important. That's what the whole game is about. Is the person who is able to execute their intention the most and the earliest and the most efficiently. So right, in the first fight, Volkanovski started out with all these beautiful calf kicks. The first round was entirely kicks. He did not throw or land, I should say. He didn't land many punches at all in that first round. What was really the focus was constantly breaking the rhythm of Max Holloway as he would move in. He's constantly breaking the rhythm with those calf kicks, with the inside leg kick. And it worked. By the second round, he was able to start implementing the punches and so on. And one thing with Max, the way Max fights, is that first round is usually pretty much of a feeling out round. He's catching that range. He's finding how you strike. He's throwing fake punches. He's throwing, jabs that don't really mean to touch you, or if them touch you, it's not meant to hurt you. But he's testing that range, because at the end of the day, he wants to know what the end of his punch is. Where are you gonna be when he throws that punch? Where are you? Are you at the where is the end? Does he have to step in a little more? Does he have to not step in as much? This is what he's testing out. How are you reacting to it? But then Max wasn't able to increase. By the second round, he's usually increasing his pace, increasing his output. This didn't happen. Until the third round, he came on a little bit, third, fourth. But we can't afford for this to happen again. We can't afford for Max to lay back in those first two rounds and get owned in the same way, because at the end of the day, the judges will just look at it as Volkanovski being dominant. Now, even when Volkanovski was taking Max to the cage, he wasn't trying to take him down. He was just tying him up, stopping the action even, and he was just showing the judges that I have the control of the fight. Then they would break, or he would force Max to work in order to break, and then they're back at it again. And Volkanovski's volume is incredible. So his volume is up there. We know that Max has the capability to throw incredible volume as well. So he can have just punches consistently going if you allow him to. But Volkanovski was so extremely good at darting in, closing that distance when he needed to, being out, and once he's out, he's working those leg kicks. And then he's in and he's punching, right? And he's slipping and coming in, so he's avoiding punches while he's coming in and landing his own. And it rendered Max pretty much, it put him on the wrong side of the winning scale in several of those rounds. So 3 of the rounds at least, as the judges can tell you. The problem I have too is that when Max is watching back the videos, because I follow his blogs and I watch some of the interviews with him, when Max is watching these videos back, so the videos of him fighting Volkanovski, that first fight, my youth is like, those kicks didn't hurt. He was just throwing those kicks, he was throwing out of volume. And I'm sure he's right. He knows what he felt, he knows how it felt. And the truth is, he made a point, if you can hear the slap, that means that the kick is not hurting. When you don't hear, all you hear is a thud, that's the shin bone digging in. That's what really hurts. So when the end of the foot catches you, all that stuff, it really doesn't hurt as much. Especially against your calf, your shin bone. I mean, the calf can feel everything actually. But the attitude that I'm worried about is, I'm worried that Max is not, I'm worried that he may just decide to again endure these kicks in order to throw his punches and land. I do think he needs to change his game plan. I think employing a front push kick to the belly, a front push kick to the face, I think adding that in would be incredibly useful. Volkanovski is a shorter guy. He doesn't have the kind of range that Max has. Max doesn't lack the capability to throw intelligent kicks and to throw kicks very well and execute them. He loves to throw a spinning back kick, all these things. So I think if Max was to add some things to his game or to this fight. Now, that being said, Max is a super intelligent guy. He's a young guy. He's only 28. He has lots of experience. He's got a lot of championship experience as well. He's fought all-time greats, right? He beat Jose Aldo twice, and the way he beat him too was incredible. He's super intelligent. His fight IQ is way, way up there. And I think I want to give Max the edge in this fight just because I want to believe that he can change his game plan and come back and do what he needs to do to take the victory. That being said, let me see if I can find some let me see if I can find the odds. Yeah, Holloway is getting a plus 180. So he's an underdog. Yep, so the wait. Right, so the champion, Volkanovski, is at negative 220, which means you risk $220 to win $100. So that means you're the favorite. That means that people expect you to win. Whereas Holloway, the challenger, is getting plus 180, which means if you bet $100, you can win $180. So he's almost a 2-to-1. He's almost a 2-to-1 underdog, which sucks. But anyway, so Volkanovski is expected to win. I think Volkanovski definitely can put on the same performance if Max doesn't change anything. And that's what's going to be interesting. And what's also interesting is that Volkanovski still has the option to employ more wrestling. Right? He can do that. Like, yeah, no problem. So we'll see what happens there. I do wish Max the best of luck because Blessed Express, baby. Blessed Express. And that with the pun. Petroyan Jose Aldo. Pietro. So, this is a very interesting fight. Jose Aldo is former GOAT, former pound for pound, or one time considered GOAT and former pound for pound best. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. I think Jose Aldo was looking good at bantamweight. I think Petroyan is on a tear. He's on an upward climb. Jose Aldo is the old lion. If Jose could bring back those kicks and switch those to calf kicks, or just add them in, mix them with some calf kicks, I would love to see the old Jose. Like really the old Jose. The man who used to just destroy man leg, mash up man foot. That is what is going to be, that's the winner right there. The thing with Jose is that Jose is always going for the knockout. Every kick, every punch is thrown with full power. That becomes a problem in later rounds if you're fighting against somebody who can make it to those late rounds. And we're talking about a 5-round fight here. Whereas Jose hasn't fought one of those in a little while. Last person he fought a 5-round fight was actually Max Holloway. And he didn't do so well. And now he's dropped a weight class. So he's down to bantamweight, and bantamweight was small. Featherweight was small for Jose. Bantamweight is extremely small. So you lose certain things at when you go down to those weight classes. You know what I mean? He really did look good against Marlon Rice. He didn't look like he lost a lot of step or a lot of power, and he really had his cardio right up until the third. But it was a 3-round. Petr Yan now is looking extremely, just everything you want to see in an upcomer, right? He's got great variety, he's got a full all-round game, and he has the power to put people down. His dominant fight over Uriah Faber is the last thing that stands out, and of course, the oddmakers are really stepping towards Petr because of his diversity as well in terms of his strikes and ground game, and wrestling and so on. So really, it's interesting to see what will happen. The odds are definitely on Petr Yan's side, and I will not make a pick for this. I'll allow you guys to go with the odds. Let me give you the odds. Now, I don't actually usually pay attention to odds very much, but I know some people might be getting interested in betting and want to see what's out there. So Petr Yan is -240, so he's a -240 favorite. Jose Aldo is +205. Right, so that's not great for Jose, but you know, so them always do the old boy them, you know. I would love to see Jose win. I think Jose definitely has the power to knock him out early, and you know, we'll see what happens there. Right, so that brings us to my favorite fight in the night, the fight that excites me to no end because guaranteed nail biter, foot stamper, computer turnover, walk around the place and jump up and down. Yo, make nice, wake up your landlord, bex your neighbor them. Like, this fight, Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade, is the fight of the night. I feel it already. I feel like them done going get the money, 50 grand. Now, first of all, the ladies always bring it. That's a fact. But when you look at the first fight, so Rose used to be the strawweight champion. Jessica Andrade took that belt from her in a very... She got lucky, to tell you the truth. Like, Rose was putting on the greatest display of striking you've seen in the cage and was just piecing up Jessica. Jessica couldn't come near, picking her apart with the jab, straight punches, beautiful kicks, moving perfectly, side angling out. She was just looking extremely just professional. That's the word, just professional. It was really incredible. But then came to a little clinch on the fence. Rose was going for a submission off of a takedown, off of Jessica's takedown. She got picked up and slammed square on her head, knocked her out cold. And man, that was painful, because the truth is, if Rose had just let go of the slam, she wouldn't let go of the submission, she wouldn't have gotten slammed. Matter of fact, it would have been illegal to slam her on her head like that had she not been trying to submit Jessica when it was happening. So Jessica won the belt. It got easily taken away from her after that. And now we're back at this. And let me tell you, Rose is going to tear her apart. So here's what we got. We got Jessica, who is an extremely powerful fighter. A little bit shorter. Very, very strong. Very strong grappling. We know that's going to be an asset, except for the fact that Rose has extremely good jiu-jitsu. Rose's submissions have been a huge plus for her entire career. I remember Rose bust a flying armbar one time that was just beautiful, even though it's still making the rounds on social media. So looking at the height, you have Andrade, who's 5'1", you have Rose, who's 5'5", and Rose has 3 inches reach on her with the arms. But Jessica does not use the kicks that much. She is a very strong puncher, can knock ladies out cold, and you know, we know that she's probably gonna go in for all of that, the takedowns and so on. She does have a higher takedown average and higher takedown accuracy, 58% to 55%. Extremely good takedown defense, 76%. So, and Rose is not worried about takedown defense, to tell you the truth. Rose will pull guard. She has long, lanky legs that she gets wrapped around the into triangles. She gets it armbarred. So she's not worried. She has a great guard. And I think it's going to be extremely exciting to see how Rose adjusted for that last fight. Honestly, if she had just stuck to what she was doing and just managed to keep that distance throughout the fight, it would have been an incredible display. And honestly, Jessica would not have made it to 3 rounds, much as 5. So this is a 3-round fight, and it's going to be extremely exciting to see what Rose does. That being said, there's always a possibility Jessica does have the puncher's chance. She is a grappler. She can come in and try to control Rose's body, but I honestly don't see her winning. Lightning does strike twice, as you saw with Anderson Silva. So we now say never, but I'm definitely leaning towards Rose Namajunas, and I will give y'all some odds on that. Alright, so Rose is in -20, -210. So Rose is the huge favorite, and Andrade is +175. Alright, so there you go. It's gonna be a super exciting night. It's the best, and yo, this is Fight Island, yo. Them could not make this huge. So if you have the ability to buy, the pay-per-view, go ahead and buy the pay-per-view. I really want to reward these guys for putting on such an incredible card. And that's just the top main card. I mean, you still have Paige Van Zandt making an appearance. You have Volkan Ozdemir. You know what I mean? You have man like Muslim Salikov. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting night. It's really a top-heavy card, but yo, it's going to be amazing. And this is all after much anticipation, of course, with the whole idea of Fight Island. They are going to be in Abu Dhabi at Yaz. Yo, what is super interesting about this whole situation is the way that they have done their testing and, you know, the whole preparation for Fight Island, because it's different now. Fight Island is where international fighters are being flown in. So this is not a situation where everybody's coming from the US, which has been the case up till now. The whole point of Fight Island was to accommodate international fights. So now we got it. And yeah, so people are being tested before they're flown to Abu Dhabi. Then they're being tested once they're in Abu Dhabi and being isolated as well. So it's a super interesting situation. The heat over there is incredible. So even that might play a factor with some of these fighters. But we're gonna see what's happening, man. I saw a lot of images and videos, even on the UFC Instagram, of a cage out on a beach, and that would be really interesting if that's how they're gonna do it, because then the climate and the weather and the temperature does play a part, as opposed to if they were in a building with AC and so on. So it's all gonna be very interesting to see how the different factors combine to affect the fighters. Yeah, man. So I'm very, very excited. I hope you guys are excited too. It's not going to be a long podcast, although it's probably already been long. So it was just meant to be some breakdowns and a bit of my picks. And I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. This is MMA Jamming with Kyle Chin. You don't know, as always, be mighty, stay strong, and we'll play some of the tune.
The mighty will get knocked out very likely. If you want war, you know where to find we. Make your life get any like Spike Lee. Them get kung fu, jiu-jitsu and tai chi.